Welcome back to Cephas Unscripted. As you can see, Robin has upgraded his camera quality out there. It looks crazy. It looks absolutely crazy. My man, how you been doing? We haven't filmed in a little while, right? So catch us up. How you been doing?
Yeah, we haven't filmed in a while. I think there's been a multitude of things that's been happening on your side and my side that probably got in the way of our filming. So we do apologize, guys. There was multiple birthdays. Divan was a bit sickly. Sometimes paddle is also gets in the way sometimes, but we're back. We have quite a bit to chat about, and yeah.
Yes, we do. And surprise, surprise, people. I know you guys enjoyed the in-person pod. We've got an in-person pod being released soon. Okay, just soon. We don't have a date, but we have filmed together. It's just a fun talking one. But anyway, people, please do remember to hit that like and subscribe button if you're just fans like us coming together talking about the game. Because we're going into hypothetical land for this one. We have to talk obviously about the British and Irish Lions. That little controversial decision. We'll get our each of our viewpoints on it. And then the hypothetical land that I spoke about is what if this Lions team played the Springboks or the All Blacks in this one, right? So how that would have played out. So, Robin, Australia v the Lions. We said, I think we kind of agreed that the Wallabies will win the series, which they haven't, right? But we said that the Lions will win the first one and then the Wallabies will come back with the last two. They should have done it. They should have done it until a little controversial call at the end of the game. What's your thoughts on that call?
Yeah, so what I will say is, even though it's controversial and look, it's in every single thread headline that I see online, what we must
Yeah,
also understand is Australia had their chances. They were up
yeah,
with about, I think it was 15 points at the time. And, the British and Irish Lions did well to come back into the game, but they had their chances. So it's unfortunate because such a great game has now it leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth because everyone's just referencing that final decision that was made at the end. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's unfortunate. What a game of rugby. I mean,
18
I couldn't
points,
have asked.
23-5 at a time.
Yeah, 18 points. Like, so, I mean, they'll be kicking themselves for that. I think most of the times that British and Irish Lions got into that danger zone, they managed to come away with points. So that's something that Australia would want to clean up before the Rugby Championship. But yeah, great game from both teams. Slow start for the Lions, but they clawed their way back into that game.
Yeah, but never avoid my question like that again. Say it. Was it the right
I
call?
want you to start with your opinion on it because I think mine and your opinion might vary, but I think you can start.
Okay, okay. I totally agree with you. It's criminal from the Wallabies to throw away a lead like that. I don't think the game boiled down to that one decision. I want to make that clear. Um, in the end, Lions deserve to win because they got the most points on the board. That's all that matters. The Wallabies deserve to lose just because they threw away an 18-point lead. If you that far in front, your discipline and your courage should stay for the entire 80. To let the Lions come back, especially right before halftime. I mean, you phoned me and I said, "Oh, the Lions just scored," and you told me they scored twice, right? Because I just had to go to a friend quickly. They scored twice in that time, in 5 minutes. Are you crazy? You're out of your mind, right? So the Wallabies were their own worst enemy. Now, obviously, the talking point when it comes to that call, I thought it was a penalty, and for a multitude of reasons, right? So my opinion is it's a penalty because I don't feel that there was a good enough attempt to wrap. I don't think an attempt to wrap is enough when the likes of a Carlo Tizano is standing still over the ball. Right? It's not like they ran at each other and it's momentum that he just bounced off. You know, like the Andre Estrays and Owen Farrell one, right? Like obviously we hated that decision, but those two ran at each other. But the one guy's standing still. Like you don't have an excuse for saying it's an attempt to wrap. That's not an attempt to wrap, in my opinion. Secondly, they said they contested for the ball at an equal time. I don't believe that because Carlo Tizzano was over the ball clearly. It is neck contact. That is a penalty on any at any stage of the game. And then thirdly, the most important one in my opinion, Jack Morgan never supported his body weight, and I feel like no one talks about that until I bring it up in like a group chat, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably also fair. He just dived into the ruck, right? So I've seen other pages. Obviously, the Northern Hemisphere might feel a bit different. They would say, okay, it wasn't a penalty or whatever. They would say, um, where else should he have gone? That just tells you how good the jackal was, in my opinion. If you're steady over the ball, you don't really give them any chance to remove you. That just tells you that you were clearly first over the ball and you got the ball, right? So that's just my opinion. I don't really care about it too much, but I just wanted to hear the thoughts and opinions because obviously it's taken over the social media industry. So I was like, there's three things that you could say about Jack Morgan, in my opinion, that was wrong. But I have seen other people saying Colin Dishonor came from the side, which didn't necessarily come from the back completely. But I don't think that would have been blown for offside. But yeah, my big thing is Jack Morgan off his feet anyway, and that's why Australia should have got the penalty. Now your turn.
Yeah, so I'll play a bit of devil's advocate here. First of all, what I'd like to say is when I watched that and saw it happen and it got shown on the big screen, I thought that's 100% a penalty. And that's just based off of the fact that we see these sort of things that go to the TMO when there's any neck, head, like high contact sort of situation, you normally see a penalty or a card. So when I saw that happen, the crowd had a reaction, obviously, as well. They called all the referees in, the assistant referees, the TMO was involved. And for me, I was like, oh, this is a no brainer. Like, especially when you know that there's a third test coming. Like, as a
Yeah,
referee, I think when you're in that situation and you're like, this is a high pressure, last minute call that I have to make. But at the end of the day, there's a third test that has to come. So let's just give the Australian Wallabies, the hometown team, the benefit of the doubt. Yes, contact was made on the neck and allow them to fight it out in the third test. I think that's how I would have refed it. Maybe that's why
yeah,
I'm
but
not a ref.
you're not allowed to do that. That is That is crazy.
Yeah, so basically, what I mean by that is obviously I don't expect a referee to be like, well, there's a third test to be played. Let's just give a call to the home team so that they can fight it out. It's more of the fact that it's almost such a 50-50 call, and it depends what color shirt the team is wearing or the fans are wearing. And then you either on that side of the 50 or you're on this side of the 50. So in times like that where you know that most head contact, 90% of anything that's head contact is normally a penalty, rather give the penalty and allow them to just battle it out in the
Yeah,
third
but
test.
is that
You know what I
really
mean?
the fair thing? Like you just gotta. They obviously made the judgment call. I respect them for sticking by their guns and making that call. Like I get it. So other people are saying there was no head contact or they were competing for the ball, and that's obviously the discussion that's being had. I'm not gonna begrudge you or say stupid for that, right? Um, my opinion was just the fact that he was off his feet, like that was just diving into a ruck, and that was a bit crazy for from my perspective. But I also the commentators. Did you hear them? You could never award a try like that. That's crazy. I love the Aussie commentators because they don't even hide how biased they'll be in it. Right? Whether this was just bias or passion that came through, and they obviously slapped up the ref a bit for that. But that is great for the game. The amount of views and stuff that's gone into those clips, that's great. We always say it. Like in the end, it's the ref's job to ref the game, and we all get performance reviews from our jobs and stuff. Social media, a bit of backlash is that type of thing. Now, I'm not saying go personal with the ref, right, at all. But you can say you don't agree with that decision. That's part of it, right? That's obviously what you signed up for. I mean, you see the newspapers giving performance ratings for players after every single game. But what you can't say the ref had a bad call there. And I'm not saying he did have a bad call. That was obviously just my observation of that moment. I could be wrong. I'm not a pro ref, right? They probably right because they are pro refs and stuff. I mean, the same with the Dan Sheehan one. I was like, that's ridiculous. How can you just jump over a ruck? Or jump over a tackler and score a try. But the laws of the game allow it, right? So when we are 1 meter away, give that ball to Arges Neyman and he'll jump over. We're going to exploit that. right? Because you're allowed to jump over. By the way, they are allowed to tackle you out of the air if you're diving for a try. Nigel Owens cleared that up. But give it to Erges Neyman. They'll need about five guys to tackle that giraffe. And he can just pick wherever he wants to place it. Left hand, right hand, straight down the middle, short, long, whatever. I don't care. Have him jump. There you go. I like it.
Like like for me that's a silly rule that with if you within scoring distance, you can just jump. I understand that there's a time and a place. For example, if a wing is running into the corner to try score a try, he needs to jump, keep his feet from hitting the touchline, that sort of thing. But when you've got a player coming directly at you to make a tackle, you jump over him. I mean, that's some NFL
Yeah,
sort of
the rule
stuff.
is
And
stupid. It is a stupid rule. But if it's part of the
what
game,
do you
then
want?
why not do it? I mean, that's what the Springboks do all the time. But I like that when we do innovation, they call us cheats. I want us to call the Lions cheats now as well, even though it's great, right? If it's there, do it. I fully, bro, Dan Sheehan, well done. I agree with you. But you cheat for that because that's what we get called every single time we do anything that innovates and stays within the laws of the game. Cheater.
I mean, with that rule, we could just as well, if we got a 5 meter scrum as the box, a 5 meter tap as the box, we could grab Faf de Klerk, one Eben Etzebeth, and on the other side Ergia, and just launch the fuck out of him over the whole team and just flick him. Do you understand?
Surely
Like,
there's a rule
it's
against that.
crazy.
Surely there's a rule against that. Would that count
There's
as a
no rule.
jump?
There's a rule against like pushing your player into people.
Yeah.
But if Faf jumps and I grab and I hoy him, I launch him.
Why not? Should
Where's the rule
is
for
there
that?
a rule against that?
They could probably, if they wanted to, chuck him over the
Should
pole.
rugby be like this, where we just try and exploit the rules every chance that you possibly get? Like I get that we do it, and I'm not a hypocrite because I've said this before. I've said it to you on this thing. I'm not a fan of Russia always exploiting all this stuff. I don't like that mall line out guy in the middle of the field just out of nowhere. I'm not a fan of it. Right? I don't think rugby should be like that. But if everyone's gonna start doing it, I mean, there you go. Fucking Chuck Fuff or whoever's small, Colby, there you go. He's even more elusive. I'm sure you can step in the air. Right? Like you throw, you think you're gonna catch him, bro. He'll step you out of the air. I don't even care. Bro, we'll be fine.
Just imagine we see that. That would be crazy. But anyways, enough of Northern Hemisphere and Aussie chat.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can still stick with the Lions. You wanted to chat a bit about how you think the box would fare against
Yeah,
them.
it's not always nice to talk about hypotheticals, right? Because but it's I want to see because there's people that talk about this being the best Lions team to grace this earth, right? And I don't think they're far off, right? This is a very talented team. Most of those guys are in their prime, and obviously they can only face what's in front of them. But I think the Wallabies have put up a good fight. If you look at that second half performance in the first test, as well as the entire second test, that the fight that the Wallabies put up, you can see that the Wallabies are getting better. But it's still a stretch to say that they are on par with where the Springboks and the All Blacks are. If this Lions team had to tour to one of the other two countries that they tour to, how do you think that would play out? Do you think that in terms of the expectation that there was on the Lions, they've still kind of underperformed? If you look at the entire performances, right, they struggle against a couple of the franchise teams and stuff. Do you think they would have been ragdolled, or do you think their level would have picked up for this occasion, knowing it is the Springboks, it is the All Blacks, with the aura around those two teams, and it would have still been kind of a split 2-1, either for the Lions or for the other team? Or do you think our team could have possibly whitewashed them?
Yeah, well, like you said, in with hypotheticals, it's pretty hard, but I think there always comes a different intensity when you're playing the Springboks or New Zealand. That's a
Mm.
given.
Form kind of
That's
goes
not
out
to
of the window.
discredit Australia. Yeah, that's not to discredit Australia. Australia were once a team that were feared by many nations, quality side. Um, but playing the Springboks in New Zealand, even nowadays, is an intense occasion. So they probably would have even been more riled up for a game like that, I could imagine.
Mm.
Um, but it's a different beast, man. We saw what we did to Australia last year. Playing them there in Australia, trying out different combinations. We had, two different teams playing. We had debutants playing against Australia, and yes, they've improved since those tests. But yeah, I don't see this Lions team pushing New Zealand and the box as much as they sort of did in that first test against Australia. And yeah, if you look at all four nations part of the Lions right now, none of them are ranked above the Springboks or New Zealand
Yeah.
in the current standings. So that's also interesting to look
Yeah, well,
at.
if you combine the four, then obviously that's extremely strong. That's like taking the best of the best. How do you think a Southern Lions would compare to the Northern Lions?
Ooh. If I have to like reference it and we go four up against four, we say so in this Lions team, majority of them were Irish.
Yeah,
Irish, it was between Ireland and England. So you would look at the two Southern Hemisphere national teams that probably would have majority of the players is the Box and New Zealand.
yeah,
Okay, and that's similar to the British and Irish Lions, where they've got Ireland and England, and then you've got a couple of the Scottish boys.
yeah,
I think it'll be similar for us as well, where we'll have one or two Australian boys, one or two Argentinian, but the majority of the players that are playing are going to be from the Box in New Zealand. We've never seen it happen before. It's another hypothetical, so it's quite hard to say, but I can just imagine the team that we could put together
yeah. It's
to
crazy.
take them on.
We could actually at the end just quickly make a Lions 15 if it had to come from the south. Did you hear the crazy stat? Owen Farrell is the second player ever to win two Lions tours. That's crazy. You want to know who the first is?
Alan Jones?
Mornestein. Bro, Morne,
I know Alan Jones he was in four, but didn't win one.
he beat Australia. So he won one.
The first one. Yeah.
But he didn't beat South Africa in, I think it was '09. He didn't beat South Africa in 2021. They drew against the All Blacks, and he obviously beat Australia. So Owen Farrell is, because the Saracens made a post, the only player to win two Lions tours. But then obviously your typical South Africans were there in the comments like, did you forget about Mordenstein, who won it in '09 and 2021? Which is a crazy thing
Yes.
to, if you think about it. Um, yeah, and then they edited the post to say the only Lions player to win. But that just sounds
Mm,
disgusting. Do we wrap it up there? Was that kind of the discussion that we wanted to have? Discuss the call. It's been a sensational
yeah.
game between the Lions. Congratulations to the Lions for wrapping it up. As I said, if you win on the scoreboard, you deserve to win the game. If you have 79 minutes of the lead and you give the team a comeback like that, you don't deserve to win. And I mean, if that's harsh, it's harsh. But the scoreboard's all that matters. You had 80 minutes to win the game and you had the lead for 79 minutes. It's your own fault that you let in two tries at the end. You can't dispute any of the other tries, right? You're not going to have it boil down to one ruck. I'm sorry. Rugby doesn't work like that. Anyway, please do remember to hit that like and subscribe button. We do appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for the in-person podcast either later in this week or next week. But yeah, anyway, the Boks are back in training camp. Sensational to see that. Excited to see us going out in the rugby championship. See you next time. Bye. Ciao.